Okay, everybody, welcome back. Creating scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and this would be making our Quonset Hangar part 10C, I believe. Okay, so last part B was creating level 2 or X01. Okay, so we have X00, which is our really detailed version of our hangar. 01 is basically 50% detail. Okay, now we're getting ready to create level 3, X02, which is 50% of 01. Make sense? All right. So we need to make copies and do a whole bunch of other deleting. Okay. And the big thing on this one is now we're going to be seeing when we go to X2. First, let's get that all set up. All right. Let's get that all set up. Don't get ahead of myself. All right. So here we have 0, 0, and it's turned off. 01, which was the last video. Now what we need to do is we need to go to Scene Collection and right click New Collection, and I'm going to collapse 01 and rename this one to X02, just like that, and hit enter. So now we have our third level collection. Now we need to go back to 01, and I'm going to Shift A to open up all of the relationships, and I'm going to hit A to select everything. I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it. Now I'm not going to hit enter or anything, but you see how everything's selected. And I'm going to hit escape so I don't move it, so it's in the exact same spot. Now this creates a second copy of everything, so that's why it's 002. Now they're all still selected. As long as you didn't click off of them, they're all those second copies are still selected. So now those copies, we're going to hit M, and we're going to select X02. So now here's 01, so we can collapse that and we can turn it off so we don't mess with it. Okay, so we don't ruin it. And you notice that all the 002s are in X02. So we now have at the moment, X02 is an exact copy of X01. Now we start to work on this level of detail. So we need to remove a bunch of other stuff. Okay, we're going to try to get 50% of our counts, and currently our counts are 42,000 vertices. Okay, so we want X02 to be around 21,000 or less. Okay, it doesn't have to be exactly 50%, but you want to get as close to 50% reduction as possible. And I can tell you right now that we're in 02 now. That's 00 and 01 are turned off, so we can't mess with those. All right, now 02 is going to be seen, way out. Okay, way out. You can't see hardly any detail whatsoever. Okay, it's far away. All right. So what can we simplify? Well, from that distance, you're not going to see, I'm going to zoom in here, you're not going to see the signature sign at all. Okay, whether it's on or off at that distance is so small you're not going to see it. So we're just going to delete it. So that took us down to 28. No, it didn't. That took us down to, yeah, it did. Just that sign itself took us down to 28,000 vertices. Oh, how fun is that? Okay. Now, remember I was talking about the lights, right? We want to keep the actual light itself, but at that distance, are you actually going to see the mast that the light is on? Probably not. So what we can do is we can select the mast and we can delete it. Okay? That just took us down to 24,000. All right? And I can come over here and yeah, when you have a whole bunch of cylinders and stuff, your counts go up. All right. All right, so let's select this mast. Whoops, let's select this mast and let's go ahead and delete it too. We can keep the boxes. They're just cubes. There's not very many vertices on those. Okay. I mean, you can delete them if you want and just have the lights, which is okay. But I think we're doing just fine. We're at 26,000. I think we're doing just fine with our vertice count. All right. Now, oh yeah, at that distance, we're not going to see that helicopter anymore. So now we are down to 23,000 vertices. So we're doing really, really, really good. Okay. However, it's these windows. There's a lot of vertices and faces for these windows. All right, there's it's 4 times 6, so each one of these panes has almost 24 polygons in each one of these frames. Of course, obviously they get smaller at the end. All right, but we can generalize these windows because at that distance you're not going to see any division between the windows whatsoever. Okay, you're just going to get a kind of like a melted in constant view of, you know, some illumination coming out of the hangar. Okay, maybe not even that. Okay, now what we're going to do is, oh, and I am going to go back to X01 for a second after I do this, and we're going to remove the wood texture from the frames because we don't need it in X01. But anyway, we're talking about X02. So we're going to generalize the ends of this building by getting rid of all these windows and frames. Okay, so I'm going to select the windows, the individual window panes, delete them. And I think I need to do some on the other side too. Okay, so let's zoom out, come over here. Yeah, so let's select these individual windows, delete those. We don't need them. To tell you the truth, we don't need those frames. So let's delete those and just keep the big frames. Select these little frames and delete those. We don't need those because we're not going to have that kind of detail, right? Now, what you could do is you can create separate polygons that only are as big as each one of these divisions. You can do that if you wanted to, but each one of these would be a single polygon. All right, so that adds to your count. So what is our count now? Our counts are way low now. We are down to 5,000 vertices because I removed all that window detail. Now, let's simplify this whole thing. All right, let's go into edit mode and let's create a polygon. All right, so I've selected the frame and I have vertices on. So let's select some, see how this works. Let's come up here, 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 okay, and hit F. we have one polygon. One little polygon. Okay. Come over here. We can pretty much do the same thing on the other side. I can actually copy that over here, but we're just going to do it this way. It's not that bad. So I'm kind of generalizing the shape of the end windows. Okay, so we have that. Hit F to create a polygon. Okay. And now I'm going to get out of edit mode. I'm going to select this frame, go into edit mode, and I'm going to select this vertice, and this vertice, this vertice, this vertice. I'm going to hit F. So now I have a face that goes across there, right? Okay. So we made one vertex, one polygon for each edge window, end window, and then this big polygon for those windows. Okay, and we'll fix that up here in a second for our model. So let me take a quick break for a second. Okay, had a little bit of interruption. Sorry. All right, so we created a new polygon that makes the window go all the way across. They're not individual panes, right? Okay, now at that distance, you know, way out here, let me get out of edit mode. It's hard to tell because I have some objects. So out at this distance, are you going to be able to see the frames of the window? Probably not, okay? You'll get an overall glow if they're bright. I don't think they are, but you'll get an overall glow at the end of the building. But you're not going to see the individual frames, right? So what we can do is we can select, I don't want that main frame, I want to keep that, but we get the individual frame here. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to, that's part of our big polygon's part of our frame. So I need to select, let me get at it. Select that one and select that one. So those are just the polygons. Hit P, new selection, and they're down here. Okay, so that's good. All right, so Windows large section 03 is just the big curved part that we just created. 002 is the individual frames. Okay, so let's get out of edit mode and select the individual frames, which is both sides, and go ahead and just delete that. We don't care about the names, all right? The names aren't important, and I'll explain that here in a second. So let's delete those frames, okay? So that took our polys down to 4,600. All right, now we need to do the same thing with this one. Let's go into edit mode, polygon select, select that main polygon there, and hit P, new selection, period for focus, and that's called east window. And now our new window polygon is 003. We do not need 002 because that's the frame. So get out of edit mode, choose 2, hit delete, and we're down to 3,500 polygons. We're doing really good in terms of our counts, right? Okay, now the textures aren't right. We want those to look like our original windows. So we're going to select, we're going to get rid of the texture that was assigned to it originally, which would have been the green wood, because that's where we made them in that object. And we are going to go down and find the material that we used for those windows, and I think it's small windows something. Yeah, small windows. Click. So now that's the same color and translucency. Translucency? Brand new word. Okay? You can use it anytime you want now. All right, so we have, it has the translucent settings and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's do the same one, same thing to this large set. Get rid of the original texture and choose that small window, smallest windows, okay? So from this far out, all right, you can tell that the ends of the building are kind of lit up at night, but you don't have all those intricate frames for the windows. That right there is almost enough to call level 3 complete, okay? But we can do some more, okay? And how we're going to do some more is basically I'm going to select these doors. Okay, now these doors are made out of the skin and the actual three-dimensional part of the door. All right, well, you're not going to see the three-dimensional part of that door at that distance, so we can delete them. Okay, and I have 4 of them, I believe. So there's those, delete those, select that, delete those, select that, oops, select that, delete those. Now, there are, since I got rid of the 3D, there's gaps, okay? But that's not a big deal because you're way out here. You can't really see that there's gaps between those doors when you're way out, right? Okay? So it's not important to keep those, okay? It may be important to you, and that's okay. This wall here, is that solidified? No, it has a solidify modifier. We can go ahead and delete that. We don't need that. So we're cutting this down even further. Okay, this block wall is 3-dimensional, I believe. So let's go into edit mode. It's pretty thin, but let's go to polygons, select the interior polygons, select those, okay, and delete faces. Uh-oh. Let me control Z. Why did that? Maybe I don't have any thickness. Oh yeah, I don't have any thickness to those walls, which is fine because I didn't give people access to those anyway. So we can undo that. We don't need to worry about our little concrete addition here. So let's get out of edit mode. All right. Now, at that far distance, you're not going to see the individual ribs of the roof, right? All right, so we're going to change this, and this is a white roof, so we can change our roof material. We can actually turn off subdivision modifiers because we don't need that, okay? Because we don't care if it's really nice and smooth way back there. So we just eliminated some geometry there. Let's go to materials and get rid of the gray steel, okay? And let's turn that into white LR that we had down here. And the same thing with this roof. We can remove the roof material and we can select the white LR right there. So in this particular, and that far out, most likely you're not going to be able to tell that says welcome to Cleveland. So we can actually get rid of that PBR as well. But I need to do this one. I need to do this one a little different. Okay, because if I delete, whoops. If I delete, well, what happens if I just delete that texture? Yeah, that's what we want. Just delete that texture. And what kind of a texture does it have? Well, that is a white background. So let's make that white LR. Okay. And let's go ahead and save. All right. So we removed some of the geometry there. So this is a real simplified version of our hangar. It's the lowest resolution that we're going to have. Okay, and I think there's probably a couple little objects that we can still take care of, and that is underneath. I have two fluorescent lights, so I can delete those. And I also have my light is an area light, I believe. Yeah, we're going to keep that because you might be able to see some kind of a glow coming from there. Okay, but I got rid of the fluorescent light tubes themselves because they're cylinders. They have a lot of polygons. So we are now down to 4,200 vertices for this particular model. And this is really good. Oh, plus we no longer need the interior wall. We don't need the interior windows. We don't need the interior door. We don't need the floor. We don't need that little ceiling part because you're not going to see any of that far out. So that brought us down to 3,700 vertices. So we are in really good shape. The overhang, we can get rid of that texture and turn that into white LR as well. Okay, so this is level X02, our lowest resolution model that you're not going to really tell because you're not going to see it for, a couple miles away. Can we get rid of this? Not the light, but the sign. There we go. We can get rid of the sign because you're not going to be able to make that out anyway. Okay. Yeah, you're not going to be able to tell that. So we've taken our model down even more. And you can do even more work to this. All right. You can break it down even further. But you just go until you feel comfortable that it's not going to tax our pilot's frame rates. Okay, that has a texture on it we can get rid of. Make that white as well. Down further. There we go. White LR. We're good. We just, from that distance, we just have a general shape, general colors of the building. It doesn't have to be detailed whatsoever. So let's do a file, save. And let's check our counts against each other one last time. So our final count for 2 is 3,700 vertices, and I am going to turn on 1, click on 0, 1. So we went from level 2 to level 3, we went from 46,000 vertices to 3,700 vertices. Whoops. Yep. So we reduced them a lot. Way more than 50%. Okay. Now, here's the other thing that we did. In this final version, this lowest level of detail version, there are 0 PBRs. I mean, you can have PBRs in your lowest level, but we were able to get away with not having any. So this is gonna draw really, really nice for the pilots when they're far away. You're still gonna be able to make out that there's a hangar there, but it's not gonna tax the frame rates. Okay, and that's what our goal is, to give our pilots good performance. All right. So this video so far has shown you making the lowest level of detail. Now it is time to export. Okay, I'm going to show you how to export this one, and part D of this ending part of this series, we'll look at it in the sim. Okay, we'll actually I'll show you how to export in this one. Yeah, I'll show you how to export in this one. And then the next one will show you how to make some changes to the XML. And then we'll build it. And then we'll bring it into the simulator in the next part. All right. So let me do one final save. Okay. Pause. Okay, a few things I need to open up. Here is my directory for, no, that's the directory for videos. I don't want that. You guys don't need to see that. I want one for the hangar. There we go. There's the directory in the model lib directory for the service hangar. So there's our original green hangar. And here is our new LOD Blender file that we're working. But we already have a service hangar XML, GLTF, and a bin. Okay? So what we're going to do is, if I open up this XML, it has a GUID. Alright? It has a GUID right here. Alright? And this is the GUID that the simulator needs as the unique identifier for this particular model. Okay? Now, since I've used this GUID before, because I have the model in the sim at the high res, it's not a level of detail. Okay? When I first tested the model to see how it looked, I generated the GUID for that object. All right? And since I've put it into the sim, the scenery XML has this object with this GUID in it. All right? Now, if I redo this model in levels of detail and have it generate an XML, it's going to create a brand new GUID. And when it creates that GUID, the problem is in the scene XML, the GUID of the model is not going to match. Let me come back to package sources, go into scene, open up the scene XML, and I'm going to do a search, unless it's right there in front of me. I'm going to do a find. I'm going to type in service and find next. All right, close that box. There's our service hangar. Notice that in the scene, it's using the GUID from the original model, okay, which has no level of detail. It's just all the detailed model, right? Okay. If now we're getting ready to export the levels of detail into their individual GLTF files, and it's going to create a brand new XML with a brand new GUID. And it's going to be different than the one that's in this file. Okay? So, you can generate the XML with a new GUID, but you'll have to go into that newly generated XML, copy that GUID, and put it into the scene XML. You can do it that way. Or, what I'm going to do is we are going to close this, and we are going to close this. All right. What I'm going to do is go back into package sources, go back into monolib, go back into service hangar, and I am going to take this XML, this service hangar XML. My new one's going to be called that too. Okay. My new one's going to be called the same as the model. All right. But I am going to rename this one to X for now. All right. So it so I don't lose that GUID. I want to keep the GUID, all right? Then I'm going to take Service Hangar bin and GLTF, and I'm going to delete them. I don't need them anymore, all right, because we're creating brand new ones. All right, so here's my original XML. Now, it's time to export our model. So we're back in Blender. Make sure I've done a save. Every once in a while, I like to select everything, go to Objects, Apply Scale, just in case I inadvertently changed anything. All right, so we're going to turn everything back on. This might take a while. It's a pretty good size file. So X01's on, X02's on, X00 is not on, so we're going to turn that on. And I'm going to pause and let this catch up. Oh, I don't need to. There it is. All right, so we have all three of our levels of detail are turned on. So there's overlapping objects on top of each other, but that's not important in this stage of the game. You need them all turned on in order to select everything, right? So in order to double check, I'm going to come over here, Table of Contents, and hit Shift A and open up all of the folders, all the relationships. And I am going to hit A and select everything. Oops. Yep. I'm selecting everything. Next step is to go to File, Export, Export Extended GLTF from Microsoft Flight Simulator, and you get your dialog, and make sure that you're in your model lib directory and Service Hangar. All right, now the new GUID, the new object that we're creating is just Service Hangar. So I'm just going to remove the LOD at the back of that, hit enter, and we're going to come up here and we are going to go to MSFS, and we're going to do a batch export for levels of detail, and it's going to create a new XML called Service Hangar. You remember seeing that before, right? And it's going to generate a GUID. All right, I'm going to go ahead and allow it to do a GUID for now, but it doesn't really matter. All right, and I'm going to show you here in a second, because we're going to use that original GUID in place of the one that it just creates. Okay, so we have batch export LODs, generate the XML, generate the GUID, and then check our include for selected objects, custom properties, transform, and geometry. All of this ticked. Don't tick the tangents, because the tangents don't work anyway in the sim. All right, and I think I'm ready to export. Yeah, I think I am. So I'm going to hit enter, and this might take a minute or so, so I'll pause and let that finish. So we're going to click export, and I'm going to pause. Okay, it's done creating the GLTFs for each one of the levels of detail. Okay, it probably took maybe 30 seconds is basically what it took. All right, I have models that take a lot longer than that. All right, so we have LOD 00, LOD 01, LOD 02. We have a bin and a GLTF for each one of those. Okay, we also have a new XML. Okay, right there, Service XML, and here's our original XML that has our original GUID. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to open up the Service Hangar XML. So I'm going to right click, open up that in Notepad++, and here's our new GUID. All right, but that's not we don't have to worry about that. Let's come back over here and open up our original XML in Notepad. So here's our original GUID. and here is our new one. They're different. But this one in this file needs to match the one that's in the scenery file. So what we're going to do is go to our original XML, and we are going to select this GUID, Control C, go into our new XML, and whoops, replace this GUID with the one we just copied. Control V. And then we're going to do a save. Okay. Now, next step are these min sizes. These are the percentage of the screen that the bounding sphere takes in the sim. All right. So for 0, 0, I want that model to show. I want the highly detailed hangar to show up when that sphere takes up 50% of the screen. Okay? For 0, 1, I want that model to show up when that sphere of the building takes, you can, I'm guessing right now, but I want that to show up when it is, let's say, I'm going to try 20% of the screen for now. No. Let's go smaller. Let's go 10% of the screen. All right. And then anything smaller than that will be our lowest level of detail. All right. So I've made these changes to each one of these levels of detail. So I'm going to save that XML, and we'll just go ahead and close it. All right. So we have the new XML with our old GUID pasted into it, because it's now the same as the one that's in the scenery file. And we have 3 models for level of detail. Now, if I went and built this for the simulator at this point, because I'm using Blender 2 MSFS plugin for Blender, I'm not using Blender 2 MSFS 2, okay? Don't ask. But the reason I'm using, since I'm using the older Blender to MSFS, it gets an error when it's creating the levels of detail. So there's nothing wrong with 0, 0. 0, 0 is just fine. It will err out on LOD 01. And if it errs out on LOD 01, it will never process LOD 02. It's just the way it is. So what we need to do is just do something a little different. Is everything, so let's come back into Blender. And in the table of contents, I'm going to Shift A again. Whoops, got to click that. Shift A. What is going on? Come on, come on. There we go. Shift A, collapse everything. Now I'm going to turn off 0, 0, and I'm going to turn off 0, 2. I'm only going to concentrate on 0, 1. So, let me, yeah, I should be able to. Let me back up for a second. Let me turn that on. Let me turn that on. And let me unselect everything just to be safe. Now I'm going to turn these off. All right, so nothing's selected. Now I'm going to open up 0, 1. Okay. Shift A to open up all my relationships and hit A to select all. Now we're going to come over to File, Export. And just like before, there's our LODs right there. Okay. However, if I exported right now, it would redo all of this. Okay, and we don't need it to, because there's nothing wrong with 0, 0. We need to just concentrate right now on LOD 0, 1. So I'm going to come down to the name, put an underscore LOD 0, 1. So it matches this right up here. All right, LOD 0, 1. Then I'm going to come over to MSFS, and I'm going to turn off batch. I'm going to turn off generate XML, because we don't need to do that anymore. We already have the XML and the GUID. Okay, and I'm going to turn off batch and selected objects. Everything stays the same. All right, now when I export, it's only going to create a brand new GLTF and bin for LOD 0, 1. Okay, to prove that to you, right now, time and date for 0, 1 bin and GLTF is today at 2:19 p.m. Okay, that was the last time that we did that export. Now we got LOD 0, 1. I got no batch, no XML, no GUID, and now I hit export. It's only processing LOD 0, 1, because that's what I have selected. Okay, so that shouldn't take that long, because it's not the detailed one, right? All right, now let's take a look at our files again. And now we look at 0, 1. It's today, but now it's 2:27. But the other ones still are at 2:19. Okay, so that proves that it only processed that one level of detail. All right, now we have a new LOD 0, 1. Now we need to do the same thing for LOD 2. So we are going to, we don't have anything selected now. Let's turn off LOD 1, turn on LOD 2. I'm going to Shift A to open all that up. I'm going to hit A to get everything selected in 0, 2, and then I'm going to go to File, Export, Export, and instead of dealing with LOD 0, 1, now we're dealing with LOD 0, 2. Okay, and everything should be set. I turn the batch is off, the XML and GUID is off, everything is set. Now we're just concentrating on LOD 2. I click export, and this one really shouldn't take that long because it's really small, because we deleted a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, and now if I open up that file directory, LOD 0, 2 is at 2:28. Okay, so we now have our new hangar in levels of detail ready to build. Okay, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to do one final save. And I think I can get away with, go ahead and, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just minimize this. Now, the next step is to build our project. We want to build our entire airport project. This takes a little while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my file folder, my Windows Explorer, and I'm going to go to the main folder for this project, BKL, and there's the BKL XML. That's the project XML. And now I have a whole bunch of stuff that's in this directory that I haven't cleaned out yet, but I will eventually. But I want to left click BKL XML, and I want to drag that down, and I'm just dragging it down all the way down, because there's executable in here that I need. So I'm holding down the left mouse key and dragging down. All right, so I still have it. And you see the fspackage tool.exe? Left mouse, click and drag and drop that your XML on top of this, and then release. Now you can't see it because it's on my other screen, but it opens up a program. It opens up the flight simulator build application, and it is now building my project. All right, now you can't see it on the screen because if I move it right now, I'm going to lose it. Okay, that's just the way it is. But anyway, I have a black console window that shows up, and then it sits there and chews on the data, and then all of a sudden it starts listing a whole bunch of things that it's doing. And then when it's done, it has a message to hit any key to continue, and it tells me whether I have any errors. So let that finish, because this does take a couple minutes to do because it's a pretty detailed airport. Okay, it just finished. I wonder if I can drag it over without losing it. Whew. Okay, it looks like I'm going to have to fix some things. All right, so after it gets done, you get this huge error report, or report of you working on your stuff. Okay, and here is, oh, duh, it's not a big deal. Notice I had one fail. All right, and I can tell right off the bat what it is, because it just, I mean, it tells me. I have two XMLs in that folder. I have the original XML, which I renamed with an X in front of it, and then I have an XML that has the new name. Here's what happened. Look right here. Since there was an XML, two XMLs in there, it tried to process that second XML looking for the GLTF, and there wasn't one, right? Okay, so what I need to do, notice I have one fail right here, okay? And to be honest with you, it's probably not a detrimental error. It just means that I can't use an object. I won't have a model in my scene that is called X Service Hangar, all right? Which is just a user error that I made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix that by getting out of this. It's going to shut that window down. And I'm going to go into my model lib directory in my package sources, model lib, service hangar. I'm going to select X Service Hangar XML, and I'm just going to delete it. I don't need it anymore because I copied the GUID into this XML. All right, now I'm going to go back to BKL. I'm going to grab that XML, that BKL XML, and I'm going to drop it on the FS package tool again and let it rebuild and see if that error goes away. I'm pretty sure it will. It was just an idiot error, an IO error, idiot operator error. So I'm going to drag that on FS package tools, and then I'll get back to you when that's done. Okay, that one finished. Took about the same time, but better results, just as I suspected. So if you look down here, I have 0 failed, because I just went in and deleted that second XML that was in the model lib for the service hangar. Okay, so I just showed you how to take care of a problem if it happens, because I forgot to do something. Therefore, you saw me try to fix that mistake. So this project has been rebuilt, and we should have our, we'll have our new hangar in the sim with their levels of detail. And the next video, the last video in the Quonset Hangar series, which will be part 10D, we will be in the sim looking at the hangar, okay, and showing you how the levels of detail work. All right. So, you guys, if you can, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you feel inclined, buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. We will see you guys on the last video in the series. See you later.